Alrighty, here we are. I'm starting another segment on the 1970 fastback Ford Mustang, which I've been saying all along will be for sale as I get it to that point. So if y'all are interested, you can surely drop a comment in the comment section. Hopefully I'll see it and we can chat about it. But that is definitely something I'm building it to sell it, not to keep it. So let me get started on it and show you what I've just got started on doing. I got that center section out and with Puss in Boots' help. The piece here that goes across that separates the glass from the trunk. And here it is. I already started the welding underneath. I didn't want to wait for that piece for the other welder. I don't know when it's going to show up. And at this point, it doesn't matter. I want to get the back section of this car completed so that I can move on to the front. So everything in the back is welded and where it belongs. And she right there is the one, you know, keeps telling me to do it, get it done. So I'm getting it done. So as you can see, I had to sharpen the drill bit again. And I've been making the spots where I want to plug weld it underneath. Like I mentioned in the prior video, I did not want to drill it from the top where you would see it. I want to weld it from the underneath where you wouldn't see it. So it makes it for a nicer job. So that's what I'm doing. That is my plan. I am MIG welding it, plug welding it. I've already tacked the underneath on the other side where you can't see it from that section to inside there, bringing it together. Nothing major, just doing its thing. So let me get back with it so I can get it done, and then once it's actually welded, either I'll show it while it's back in the car or I'll show it before I put it in the car. So stand by. Here we are, and I got it all plug welded. Came out really nice. And when I see what I'm about to show you, it tells me that it worked really well. See those spots there? It's a good indication that the welding is doing its job. And that's how clean I wanted to keep it in this particular valley. So that's why I was set on welding it on the underneath side. So I'm going to cool it down some, and then I'm going to apply some Rust-Oleum paint on there. On the spots that I welded, but first I'll take the wire brush over it, make sure it's clean of the little brown rings that you see there. So next, after I do all that, then I'm going to install it, get it in there, finish welding everything up. And then I'm going to put the tail panel in. It's ready to go, actually. There it is. All new parts. Yep. So that'll be next. So in the meantime, once that's installed, that piece, and I go to put that piece in, I'll turn back in. So in the meantime, stand by. Alright, I'm back, and I just slipped this piece right in. It went in so much easier than it did coming out. And that's a good thing, I think. This. Nice and even. This side is pretty even. Where it belongs on my stop. Now, let's take these two things. Little tweaking. Yep. Alright, I think what I have to get now is get my level and running off the center of the line. I do have another center line right here. I'll get my level and the square and measure up and make sure they're both the same. Just to make sure that it's going to hold, because when the tail piece goes on, I want to make sure that this doesn't get out a whole lot of nonsense going on. But before I put that piece in, and this is secure, I will weld it and finish welding it inside there. So let me get that, show you what I'm doing. So she's right on the line up there. I'm going to put it on the opposite side, like that. And there's a line over here. I'm going to measure it just to be sure. Up there. Set it up. I guess I'm just going to have to use my teeth with another hand to measure from the bottom to the outside. Move it. Let me verify it. I got to get a clamp or something. It'll make it a lot easier. Gotta let it hang out longer because I need some place to clamp it. Let's see if I get this. Nope, that ain't work. I don't want to clamp it too tight, just snug enough to keep it from sliding and allow me to do my thing. That ain't gonna work. Come on now. this problem before. Honestly, it is. Look at it. What's the new one? Let me do the top box verification. Yep, exactly the same. Here's my aluminum square. There you go right there. Dead center of that yellow line I got. And it touches the left. Square it up. Alright, terrific. So the tension that I have on this is correct. That's all I wanted to do is verify it. Now I can weld it in. Alright, so I gotta see where I really want to clamp this up and weld it up. I think so. You must have had that part for that the welding on that. Oh, when am I going to weld it? Huh? I think I can weld it up in the corner. Flat, just like I did over here. If I can weld those two corners, maybe do a little stitch on the curvature here, and that corner as well as this one. And do it up and down on either corner, just so that to take the clamps off. So this way I can always go back later when I finally get the part I need and be able to spot weld these corners here. This one and this one. Because all this now is welded. And once I finish welding those in, it's going to be solid. Yep. So let me get to doing that. In the meantime, stand by. Okay, I have it welded everywhere I pointed out. That section. To get my hand out of the way. Underneath, a little tab here, same on the opposite corner, and both corners. All nicely welded in. And once my other welder is fixed, I will definitely put 3 spot welds on both sides. So my next attempt is going to be this, because I got screws in it and clamps to hold those pieces together. Would be nice if I had that darn spot welder. So what I'm going to do is maybe just temporarily put it in, fix it in with screws or clamps, so that I can keep moving it and just wait for that piece to show up. So I'll just pretty much play it by ear. But in the meantime, stand by. Okay, I mentioned to you guys before that a lot of these parts aren't perfect. If none of them are perfect, not a lot, all of them aren't. And here's one of the simplest little items. This hole here in the rear of the quarter, and this panel here that I just temporarily installed with 2 screws, but the hole is off to the left of the quarter. and that hole right there was for me to have a screw in it to keep it in place the first time. So I gotta hollow this out so that when the other piece goes on, which is the outside fiberglass, or actually aluminum piece, it's in these boxes. Might as well, you'll see it. That piece right there in the plastic, those studs go through so you can bolt it on in 3 places. One here, this one here, not a big deal. If anything, I'll just clean that out a little bit on the quarter part. But that right there, and this side here, it's pretty close. I wouldn't even have to waste my time with that. That's free and clear, and so is that. So there you go, there you have it. But temporarily right now, I got them put in so I can put the actual back pan on that holds the not only the gas tank center but also the tail light. So I'm going to slip that in there now, and hopefully I get it in there nice and easy, because it's got to go in back here and come around and go over the outside of the bumper holders there. So let me get it done. Stand by. Okay, I hope you can see me, but I'm going to show you just how far I got and what it took. Here we go. I got the rear panel in, tail light panel, plus the other inserts there that go actually behind the tail end of the quarter. As you can see, it goes underneath and it connects the way it does on both sides. These aluminum, that's right, aluminium, whatever you want to call them, were far from being perfect. I have so far have not ever worked on one to where the seam and everything was perfect. And this is pretty damn near. I can just tweak that up a little bit and that'll be a lot closer. I've had to alter the holes in there so that the bolts, the 3 that hold them in, line up where it should be. You know, it took a lot. And this one here, I had to bring the bottom end of the quarter in so that I could get this. Well, there you go. Now I even got it better. I pulled it back to where this would follow much better. There could be a slight amount of filler right here, and that will take care of that. But I've always remembered, and I've done more than 2, more than 3, but I've done a few of them, and they are a royal pain in the butt. Yes, they are. Right there in the rumpus. Yep, to get them to line up perfect, but now's the point where you do your best to get them to line up, to use the least amount of filler as possible, and in this case, that will be the case. I won't be doing it unless somebody hires me to finish it. So, that's the plan right there. There it is. I'm still hoping and waiting. I'm not sure when my spot welder part will come in. And once that happens, I'll pop these corners off. They're bolted in only. And then I will start using that welder to weld these in and finish welding that cross piece in. And once that's done, then it's done. It's over. Yeehaw! Absolutely. And I even made sure that the bottom rail here, the pinch weld area, is where it should be, and it is. And even has all those holes in there to where I will plug weld those babies up. Yep, and fasten that to that. I don't think they get bolted. I doubt it, but you never know. I just might bolt them in instead of plug welding it. I have to investigate it. But moving on. And you know, the funny thing is, these things are Dynacorn, that's Dynacorn, this is Dynacorn, all this stuff is Dynacorn. And it just, even with them, it's amazing how you can't get near perfect, that how much more you have to do to get it to make it to where, you know, it's super duper nice, you know, incredible. Like, so peace out for now. Tomorrow's another day, so see you then. Okay, it is the next day, and here we are working on the lower cowl, and I put a center mark, which are by the magnets right there, of the lower piece, the lower panel. Then I measured from these corners on both sides. I got my measurements, divided in half, and centered the lower pan. So I'm going to fasten it and make sure it stays there before I go any further, because I believe it is sitting where it needs to sit as far as pressure wise. Before I go and make it a permanent fit, I will grab the windshield and measure it from the top of the sitting point to the lower sitting point. Even though I have another pan, the upper cowl pan, to go here, I just want to make sure that it is positioned from basically back to front. That's my concern, because I already have it centered, and that is, you know, important to make sure that this piece is centered with the car, just as I was doing with the back section. So let me get some measurements on that, write them down, measure it out, see what happens, and let me keep moving and going forward. So in the meantime, stand by. All right, here we are. The upper cowl is placed in. Got 2 screws in it and 2 clamps. And as you can see, my square right there, I have center marks, measurements, make sure everything stayed in point, on point. And the biggest focus with the upper cowl is 2 holes. One is here on the right side, and one to match on the left side, driver's side. And keeping it formed as flat as you could to make sure that your spacing for your windshield, especially in the center, remains what it should be. The glass is 22 1/4, and I have just a little bit more than 22 1/4, so that'll no problem fit in there. And at the ends, which is kind of hard to actually measure, because when I measured the glass, I measured it at the point where this doesn't carry, so it's at 22 1/2. But even in this area here, it'll not be any problem. It should fit. It will fit. So I should have ordered, and I didn't. I thought I was going to be making a trip North Florida to buy the hood. They want $200 to ship it, and it wouldn't quite cost me $200 to go there and get not only the hood, but these things that go on the side here that collect the air. And I needed pins and bushings, and I also needed just 1 set of bushings for the rear leaf springs with the part that go in the unibody. I just need 1 set of that. So I thought if I made that trip to do that, and maybe I still will, maybe I'll just pack a lunch and drive up there, whether Friday or Saturday, most likely a Saturday, and go pick all those things up. But the thing is, it's almost a 4-hour trip and there, as well as coming back, and then you know you're going to spend at least an hour there, if not more. So you're going to have 9 to 10 hours in a day, which isn't bad, but we'll see. Maybe I'll just spend the shipping money and get it shipped to me and have to wait until it shows up. I'm not sure. I guess we'll all find out as time goes on. So moving forward, and I'm just trying to get things in place. I'm not going to weld that in permanently yet, because I'm uncertain how these corner pieces on both sides will actually work out. I don't think, based on what carries on underneath here, the lower cowl does not come out to here like the upper one on this side. It's kind of open. It's probably a 3-inch opening. You know, there's as far as from side to side. I should weld in this panel here to this firewall, maybe even make a plate for that to fill this in. This side here, let me see if it should be the same thing, and it is. It's the same concept. So I got to figure it out, and I will figure it out. Can weld, and it's the same gap on this side. Make a piece to fill that in. It's not a big deal. So I got to work it out. I got to figure out how I want to proceed with this, because I don't want to weld it in and then go, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. So, but I do have to fit these in. Got to clean it up again, fit these in place, get that square out of the way. What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. Get that out of the way. I had it right the first time. But fit that, maybe put a couple of screws in there, you know, and the same thing with the other side. Get this fitted. Yep. Get some screws in it so that this way, if I have to take the cowl out, it won't be a problem. But that's how that'll be. And I got the fenders. If I'm going to try to fit the fenders, I'd have to take the clamps off. And I think while I was there, I'd get some of these clips for the bolts, because I am missing a few. I actually have some, but for some reason I can't find it, and I don't want to spend all that time on my work time to try to find them. I'd rather do it like after dinner or something, and see what I can rummage up. And based on what I'm messing around with here with the new upper cowl, and based on, you can see the imprint here or where that went, it should go like that, but that's not going to happen. So I will have to roll these back a little bit, because I did bend them at one point, so I probably have to bend it again and make it move at least 1/8 of an inch, and that's about all it needs. And that'll actually end up where the other one, where it was on the other car, where it actually touched. So I think I'm going to fit that, see how it works. Or maybe, in fact, that, maybe this, I don't think it's too far forward, the upper one, because the holes line up real nice on both sides. So as you can see, it's screwed in. Let me figure it out. I got to work it out, make it happen, make sure I don't have any issues. The hinges are still loose. That's nice. Yep, that's nice. So stand by. All right, here we are, and I am gone as far as I will with the upper and lower cowl over there, because of the other pieces, but I'm really concentrating on welding them in once I get the part for that machine way over yonder. But in the meantime, I'm going to put the tail piece on, it's tail fan, where the reverse lights are mounted to, where the license plate is mounted to, and this is for $69.70. Like I mentioned many times before, panels don't fit the way you think they should, especially for money spent. And this is brand new, and it is a Dynacorn one. The tag was there, got cleaned off. There's a mounting point on one side where a fastener / bolt would go in, one on that side, and up into the rear quarter there's the slot where you would go through with the bolt, which I believe what's missing out of this is the nut that should be in there, but it's not. So I got to figure something out for this right here so that I can run the bolt through the inside where you can get to, no problem, up and in, not a big deal, both sides. But I find that the length of this whole unit is 1 1/8 inches shy. So that's the way it is. And this piece gets bolted or screwed on. Now the holes, the smaller holes, do match up with the bigger ones that are attached to the panel for the taillights. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually bolt pieces together, the tail pan with the back pan here that the tail lights go in and everything else that goes with it, and the other part of this is the trunk pan. So I will run a bolt through the whole thing, because the bolts are going to hold just as good as anything else. The rest is going to be welded up, you know, from these pans here to this, to that, to the quarter. So it's going to be fine and dandy. And I believe the reason why they probably bolt this on is so that if for some reason it's got to come off, I don't know what reason, you can unscrew it or unbolt it. And I think there was actually screws in it. So maybe I'll do the same thing. But in the meantime, I figured out how far based off center. And what I did was I notched this up to this side. I evened it up at the end over there, the end of the quarter. I put a mark to the center on the panel. We'll call that the tail light panel. And then I switched and I did the same thing to that, evened it up, and put my mark and came up with it being 1 1/8 inch off. Which, if that center line is center, then, you know, how the heck did they make this panel? You know, it's just the way it is. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to cut this pan. I don't want anything under my feet, and that handle is getting underneath my foot. So I don't want that, so I got it on the way. So I'm going to cut this in half. But first I'm going to have to take the license plate brace off. There's 4 spot welds. I will remove them from the other side, not this side. Remove it, cut it, and make my piece out of whatever gauge this is, which I think it's 18 gauge. And I will make it fit and form to that. 1 1/8 wider. And maybe I'll TIG weld it if I decided to go that way, or MIG weld it. TIG welding's a lot cleaner, but you know, I can make it look really nice. You know, grind it nice and smooth, do a little at a time so it doesn't heat up and warp. But I'm gonna have to make it bigger because I want it to go on there. Now I don't have to put it on there. I don't have to sell it with it on there. I can just put it in with the package deal and they can deal with it. But I really want to have that piece on there because I do have the tail lights. I am going to put them in so it looks more finished. Yeah, I want to do that. So, and I don't mind doing stuff like that. I'm going to cut it in half, make it 1 1/8 wider, and that'll be the end of it. And then bolt it on. But, you know, those parts also being missing from in there, you know, that bugs me. None of this stuff is cheap. And it really should have the receiving nut on there, whether it's supposed to float around but stay fastened. You know, I don't get it, because unless there's a different apparatus for that, which I'm not sure of, because last time I checked, when I took it apart, other ones apart as well, 69s and 70s, there was a bolt, you know, came through there, and you went in there and got it out, and then it would, you know, separate. So let me get to it and I'll show you along the way. Stand by. Okay, I changed my mind on how I was going to proceed with that rear panel, the lower tail panel. Initially, I even cut the length I was going to need, which was, I think, 8.5 or 8 3/4 long by 1 1/8 wide. Cleaned it up real nice, and I kind of think it's even a little bit thicker than this material. So as this old one laid on the ground right there, and knowing that I really wouldn't use it again because, you know, it's in rough shape. It could be saved really if somebody was in dire need and they didn't, you know, want to spend the money or whatever. So, but it's solid here. There's no rust. I cleaned it up on both sides. It is, for the most, it is pretty much a solid piece. It's rough around the edges. It's got fiberglass on either side, or Bondo, I'm not really sure. So I measured out like 4 times using the square, making sure I got a nice straight line and So this way, when I go to cut that out, it'll be a square cut. So when I cut that in half, all this stuff should line up perfectly. Exactly. Absolutely. Now what's going to happen is, when I make this piece wider in the center, it's going to definitely offset the square marks, plugged outs for the license plate. But it makes more sense to do it there because all the curvature and everything and all this is already, you know, in place. It follows the quarter. And to maybe extend this out one amount, extend that side out one amount, it just doesn't make that much sense. I could reconfigure the license plate holder. It doesn't have to mount at the top because, let me show you. This is going back on as one piece. That's not getting made bigger. So when this goes back on, the license plate bolts can go on the bottom, and the top don't even have to worry about it. And maybe they'll actually line up better, because in comparison to where that hole is, where the license plate would go, and where this is, it's offset quite a bit, as you can see at the angle. So that's the plan. That's what I'm going to do. And let me get started. Well, good morning. It's the next day, and last night, I think a little after 8 o'clock p.m., I got this rear tail panel finished, extended. There's the two pieces after cutting it in half and taking what I wanted out of it and adding it to this piece, because they're exact pieces. And now I'm going to try to install it, and it should fit much better back there. That's where it belongs. And keep moving forward. Gotta get this thing together. Yep, gotta make it happen. So I'm gonna definitely need two hands to put that up, fit it, get a few screws in there, and I gotta move forward on it. I can't try to install the trunk deck yet because I gotta weld up. When I get the part for the spot welder, I'm going to finish it up and figure out how I'm going to adapt those hinges. And Puss in Boots hasn't given me any ideas yet on how to do it. All she wants is attention and to be fed. Yep, she wants to be fed. Attention. Yep. And she's a good cat. She's weird, but she's a good cat. So these are the hinges that came off the donor car. The one I'm basically building new of, and based on the mounting on that section in the back and the trunk, these are not the type to go in there. As you can see, it has two holes with nuts welded to it right there, and these are configured and formed, and they were spot welded in place. And there's a spring that hooks up to this side and scoots over to the other side to where the other one would be mounted. But maybe I can eliminate some of the stuff that's on here and make these work, keeping this section here, but definitely have to get rid of this. I can't imagine that being a part of it, because then you wouldn't be able to get the fuel tank out, because if you got one of those on either side of the tank, it'd make it probably difficult or impossible to get the tank out, because the tank comes up out through the trunk. It does not drop down to the floor. So I got to figure something out and see where the arm reaches out to in the balance of the trunk lid, which I do have a brand new one sitting in this Dynacorn box. Yep, there it is, nice and pretty and black. It's got the you know, that wing style looking thing on it. So that'll match the pieces that I took back off that are in the box that bolt onto there, because they got to come off in order for me to weld those things on. So let me get to it. Let me figure it all out. And in the meantime, stand by. All right, here I am. I don't recall if I showed the video. I know I took pictures so that tomorrow morning I can post them on my Instagram page, which is Radical Curves 157, about this bottom tailpiece installed. Not 100%, but it is bolted in from the backside like it is from the factory. So that's there. And right now you can see the brand new trunk lid, deck, whatever, cover is also mounted. I should have probably showed you what it took to take the original Coupe 70 Mustang rear hinge mounts and how I changed them and make them work correctly on this fastback, because they are different. I guess the way they might bolt up is different. I'm not really sure. I still have to put the spring bar in because it needs to be able to stay up like that. And this in here, I don't know if you can see it, is a part of it. And the only reason why I don't have it in yet is because I'm going to have to take this off anyway. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I might have to remove the hinge couplers, the assembly, whatever in the world they're called. I'm not really sure, but I might have to remove them. So I have them bolted in on the bottom, one bolt going through the actual plate that actually accepts 2 bolts to go into the nuts that are welded onto the side plates. But it didn't work that way. It worked to where I drilled holes for the bolt and 1/4 inch 20, and just tack welded a little bit on the top on each one, because the cross piece here is not welded in all the way either. So that's why that's like that. A lot of time in adjusting. The hinge goes up inside the trunk rail here, so that's what holds it in place. 2 bolts on this side and 2 bolts on that side. I do have the trunk latch. I'm hoping that it is the same. I do have the setup. Hopefully it's the same. I believe it is in reference to the 69. It's the same. So I have that. Once this is actually welded in, I will weld that in, but first I gotta clean it up. This has already been cleaned up, and I might even put some paint on it, not even sure. But that's all there is to rock and roll. You have to push that little lever that the spring attaches to in. It's not as it's hung up part of the hinge. And as you can see, the corners are off because I just wanted to fit them. I fitted them. They're nice. But I have to weld all this, so it has to come off anyway. So that's why you don't see them on there. You should probably see how it works out with the trunk. You know what? I think I'll do that now. I'll get the right side on. So here we go, in the plastic. I don't know, she shot off underneath something, because no sooner did the cat come out after I fed her, she went alongside the car in the building, and then it just started to downpour. So I don't know where she went. That's 1. That's 2. And that's 3. So now you get to see it going on. The front is just like every other factory one. It's just like every other factory one. I will have to bring the trunk deck out more, away from the car, in order for it to actually be even here. I trying to keep a nice close fit. I think it's probably 16 to an inch, not much more than that. So yeah, the trunk's gonna have to come out, but like I said, I got to take it off again anyway, so there's no point in it. But at least now I know how it fits, and I'm sure the other one is the same way, because the gap on both ends are about the same. But that's what it would look like. I think that's beauteous. And so far, the part from my welder did not come in. It is just a couple minutes after 4, and I know the mail would have come by now, I believe. I didn't see it, and maybe it didn't, and I'm sure it did. And I think it is coming U.S. mail, postal service. I did receive a third package that I was supposed to get. I was wondering when I was going to receive it, because it's past the 18th. I think today's the 19th. And I think I have one more package coming, but I don't remember what it is I bought. It was 4 items, I believe. One was the wiring harness I got for the 57 Chevy. I really like that harness and that setup. The other thing was a wire kit, like to make plugs. And I'm going to use that actually on the 57 because they have everything just wired direct to each application, and I don't want that. So that the thing that came today was the insulation, the padding, the soundproofing. Yeah, I don't know, I'm 5mm. I don't know why they can't give it to you in inches. We're here in America and I only know inches, I don't know millimeters. So that came in 2 big rolls of that, which hopefully should be enough to do the floor, the doors, and even the roof, and the firewall. Yeah, and maybe even, it should do the trunk. It should be big enough there to do the trunk. It'll be nice. So, I can't remember what the 4th item is though. It's something that I needed. It's tough. But you see it. It's gonna come this way. That's really nice. Let me see if I can get you to see that a little bit better. Hopefully. Yeah, this phone is very touchy. It's got an additional button on the side for the camera. So I tried to avoid touching it, but that didn't happen, so it turned the camera off. This is a iPhone 17. I guess it's the latest one, and still trying to get used to it from an Android. But there you go, you can see it. The reverse light housings. I have another one of these pans, brand new one just like that. And that one not only has the reverse light housing, but it also has the channel grooved out from exhaust. Being that I don't know what exhaust would go on here or who's going to finish the car, they can always cut that out if they wanted to, make it pretty, or do whatever it is they're going to do. But I didn't want to use it. I want to save it maybe for next one, or just sell the panel. So just like I've mentioned before, this car is for sale. And as we're coming closer to having the body all put together, then I start addressing certain things. I'll just place the windshield in because I'm sure whoever paints it would like to paint it without the windshield, so I'm not gonna, put some sealant on there to seal it in there. I'll place it in there. I won't even put the glass in the doors, same reason, because they're gonna want to paint the doors. They can have all the hardware, the track that goes with it, and the glass, and it'd be a lot easier if I install it so that it works. Then they're gonna have to uninstall it to paint it. So I'm saving them the trouble, and at least this way they could finish it themselves. And as you can see, the upper and lower cowl is in, and it's all centered like I mentioned earlier. So once it's actually in there, and the fenders are on. I'll probably put the steering column in, put the dash in, and put the steering column in. And then once the steering column's in, I will be sandblasting the complete front end, the rear end and springs, and I will be installing them so I can make it a roller. And once it's a roller, I can actually take it off the jig, put the jig back up in its proper holding up there, so it's out of the way, and then work on the engine. It's getting there. Definitely getting there. So until the next spot, until my next move, stand by. Okay, I'm back and I'm about to bring you up to speed and have this part of what I'm about to film be the ending of this segment of Power Play Garage when it comes to this 1970 fastback Mustang. Yesterday was a real exciting day. I won't go say any more than that, but moving along, and I'm going to show you what I accomplished and go from there. So here we go. As you can see, once again, the tail pieces are now permanently bolted in place. The trunk deck is installed. There you go. And it lines up pretty good. All I have to do is, once I'm done, where is it? There it is. Sandblasting that part right there, which has to do with the latch. I will weld it in place. And I also have the other end, but I gotta find it. So I gotta hold the trunk up, because if I'm gonna try to install that spring, which I don't know if I'll be able to or not, I'm gonna have to make it shorter because it's too long. It's made for this standard body 70 Mustang. This is the fastback. So I got the hinges made up. They are the correct, part of the correct assembly for the hinge. Bolts in on the side of the actual trunk deck, both of them, and I have it bolted in on the bottom over there, and it slots up into underneath that piece that goes across from the left quarter to the right quarter. That old piece right there for the back part of the fastback, that's there and in place. So it took him a bit to get everything lined up, working. I got all this stuff in here, the real pan actually welded in place. My spot welder is still not fixed. I got the part, but it's the right style, but the diameter of it is way too big. So a friend of mine took it further, investigated the company, which is made, this brand comes from Italy, and as you can see here, I had an adapter made to go into the gun, and the pieces that I bought, which are the banjo style with the Schrader valve in it, okay, this is much bigger. And not realizing I wasted probably 2 to 2.5 hours going to the place that makes all this stuff and get hoses and fittings. They just didn't have this. They made that. I come back to realize that this part of the banjo style is too small for this. So even though I spent all that time getting this made, it was a waste of time. Just a waste. So I'm waiting to get the Monday to call, because I got phone numbers from the help of a friend of mine who has to deal with machinery that is outdated, and he has to find parts for it for what he does. So we found 2 companies. I'm going to call them hopefully Monday and get it taken care of and get the new part sent to me, so that this way I can actually finish spot welding like that area and that area in, and I might as well let this thing close. Gotta sneak in like this. There we go. Now it's down all the way. But that's that story, and this way I want to be able to keep going when it comes to because all this has all been centered. I showed that, what I did with that. Everything is where it belongs. I just have to spot weld everything in so it stays in place. But first, I got to take the upper cowl off, spot weld the lower cowl in, and then do the same thing to the top. Get these welded in, both sides, and I will be going to pick up when I need the rest of it. The upcoming weekend, I'll be making a road trip, so that'll be good. In the meantime, the lower sail pan, whatever this is actually called, it's bolted in, and now I will finish putting screws in it, because it gets screwed in or bolted in, one or the other, because it is meant to come off. So I'm going to do that next, get it done and over with, and move forward. So in the meantime, hopefully you can see me, I'm going to end this part of the video so that this way I can get it posted and get more out there on this car. And keep in mind that it is for sale. If you guys actually have any comments, you want to know more about it, please write the comment, and I'll try my best to see it and get back to you and have a chit chat about it. But keep in mind, it's for sale, and it's almost to the point where the next segment will show you sandblasting the rear assembly, the front assembly, and taking care of all that so I can get it mounted. That'll be, I think, the next segment, maybe. Who knows? We got to see how it works out with getting that part for the welder. But I do appreciate people watching, I really do. It means a lot. If you have any comments, please make them, whether they're good or bad. That'd be great. That's fine. And it's Power Play Garage. Thanks for watching.